to the ARW discussion, folks. We got us an international crew here today. We got Maddie and supposedly going to have Emma, but
there she is.
there we go.
All right.
Hey, Emma.
We lost Maddie and now we got Emma, so maybe she pushed
She
him
cut
out
him
of
off.
Australia.
You can only have one feed from Australia at a time.
Here he's back. I think that's
Oh,
nope.
All right.
That's Randy
Hey,
Richards.
Randy.
Okay.
Oh, that's Randy.
Okay.
Wow.
That's very good too. No problem.
Hey, you guys hear me?
Hello,
Hello, Randy.
Oh, we can't hear you. No,
You can't hear me?
no.
We can hear you.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we got.
Don't
we
believe
got
those guys.
You need a sarcasm detector.
Matti, we see you. We see you.
Randy,
Hi guys, how's everybody?
I think
Oh,
I haven't,
no,
been
no,
on, I haven't been on in a while, so
Good.
Yeah.
Is it still dry up there, Randy, or is it starting to rain?
well, we did have a little rain a couple weeks ago, but it might rain today even. It looks like so.
Yeah, that's what they're saying. Yeah.
Yeah. It's just beautiful weather. You can't beat it right now.
Nice.
So
Nice.
yeah.
All right.
Okay, Randy, what we're going to talk about today is indexing.
Oh, I haven't had time to prepare.
Well, I would say you don't need time to prepare.
Don't worry. I never prepare whatsoever. So
No.
I want to say hi to
Sure.
Emma though. How you doing, Emma?
let's go for it.
Can
You
Emma
keep
hear us?
losing.
Good
Maddie.
evening, Emma. Evening, morning.
Emma.
Can you hear us, Emma?
Give us a thumbs up, Emma, if you can hear us.
We can't hear you.
Okay.
We
she
can't
can
hear you.
us.
Wow.
We can't hear Emma.
Maddie's having a hard time coming through. He was upside down.
Well, that's Australia.
It says somebody's trying to enter a studio, but it's full. So that's all I can tell you. It's full up.
All right.
Try to figure out who it is.
I can't. There's no way.
No.
No.
How many people did you invite?
Well, obviously 10. Well, 9.
10.
9.
Yeah.
We're at capacity.
Yeah.
We may have to shuffle in and out.
Yeah.
But
Harold kicked me out for a moment, so you can check out
No.
who
we're all
it
right.
is.
We just need to get Randy and Maddie to fix their audio so we can hear them.
I thought you said you could hear me.
I can,
We-
we can hear you.
Good, Randy.
We can hear you, but we can't hear Emma. We can't hear Maddie. I think Maddie's frozen.
Yeah.
I
So-
think Maddie's
Maddie's locked
internet is too slow or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, something's wrong. We never
Connection
had this
with,
much trouble before.
He's a long ways away.
There you go. So, I started to working on some indexing here lately because Mr. Pete said that that faceplate that comes with your lathe is not good for indexing.
Mm.
So I got that sucker out, and he was 100% right. And so I thought, well, I'm going to index that booger, and Thursday you'll get to see the results of it. But it got me to thinking about indexing, and I swear Emma's frozen,
Emma's
And-
frozen.
and Maddie's gone.
Does it freeze in Australia?
I think they're indexing.
Over here it does. We had freezing weather overnight.
Yeah.
Well, it's
Yeah.
getting to be summertime down there.
Yeah. Here it isn't anymore. Finished.
Oh,
So indexing, yeah.
It's
Yep.
very important. How's that?
well, I can say this was back before there were DROs. I guess the king of the indexers was the rotary table.
Hmm.
Yeah.
I don't-
that- well,
I don't.
if you're going to put a part in the
Stan.
mill and take the part out, put it back in, you better have indexing done. Whether it's a stop,
There we go.
you better do something. Or if you're going to turn it, you want to have some type of index set up so you can put it back in again.
Yeah.
Absolute.
That's when I come to the conclusion that the most reliable way of indexing is with something like your chuck. You know, you can use a dog up against your chuck jaws or something. That's always going to be right.
You got
And
to mark the jaw, so you're always on the
Yeah.
same jaw.
And you don't have to think, you know.
Yeah,
Which
on lathe,
helps us.
I just take a Sharpie and I mark the jaw and I mark the work. If I even think I'm going to have to take it out and put it back in. Automatic. This is with a Sharpie. Just do it.
Yeah, undoubtedly. Now that I've got a DRO, I use it for practically everything that I do, you know, and indexing on the mill because it's so much easier.
Yeah, but if you're going to take it out of your vise and put it back in again, you should have a hard stop set up or, you know, or something. You need to have something to make sure you put the part back into the same exact place. If you want to take it out and do something, deburr it and put it back in again, or turn it around, or something like that, you know, or rotate it. You know, the Rose Index thing that tool works fantastic for rotating.
Oh, it does.
I use it all the time if I'm going to rotate something.
Somebody's echoing. Well, it's not Randy because he's got earmuffs.
Whoever just muted that's who it was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Emma, can you hear us?
It's Stan.
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
We can't now.
We got you.
Okay, excellent.
Oh, we was beginning.
It works.
Welcome. This is the
I had
second
no
lady
doubt
we've ever
that
had.
would work, but... Oh, hi.
Ah, right.
I think Emma's a little
know why
delayed.
you've never
There's
had
a little
me?
delay there.
Yeah, probably.
I don't know. I saw her lips move, but I didn't hear anything. So
You didn't
I
hear
will-
anything?
I didn't hear
Let's play
anything.
with this microphone.
Oh, I got you now. Yeah,
Much
I
better.
hear you now.
Okay.
We can hear you, but there's a tremendous delay between sound and video.
When I worked in the evil polluting refinery, there was this guy in charge of one of the maintenance groups. They were, I think, guys that went around and took care of the governors or something. And he had a hearing aid, you know. And when the guys wanted to mess with him, they'd go in there and sit down in his office and start moving their lips without saying anything, you know, and have him cranking away on his hearing aid.
How mean?
Yeah, guys at work aren't nice.
That's me. No.
So you talking indexing? Are we talking rotary indexing or just indexing?
Any
at all?
any kind of indexing you can think of,
Okay.
you know. And what do you do? What's your favorite way?
Well, I mean, I like the collet blocks for a lot of the stuff I do on the Bridgeport. The 4-sided and the 6-sided collet blocks work really well for indexing.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
Use that with a stop. I did find out that the hex doesn't work too good with my low profile stop, and ended up having to use the 1-2-3 block trick to index it on the vise as a hard stop every time.
Yeah. What? You can't even get confused with that, but you'd have to be me.
Simple Sharpie and say 1 on one side and just.
Yep, that's a fact. So here lately I started using the data function on the DRO, and you can lay out a whole bunch of holes to drill, which I did with that, making that camera mount for Tangent Jim, and it was exactly the same pattern, just rotated around the corner every time. And I set up, I don't know, probably 30 data points for all the holes and such. And it made the job really easy. You just rotated the thing around, clamped it back down, and followed the data points. They were all just identical.
Yeah.
I'm going to run for some headphones. I'll be back in a minute.
All right.
A bit easier. 2 minutes.
What?
Yeah, collet blocks. I think somebody just wrote a comment there saying how don't get cheap ones. Because you ought to check if you have a set of collet blocks to make sure they're pretty square or they're a true hex.
I will admit that
a lot of them are off.
Yeah, I will admit that I've not checked mine, and I suspect mine's off a couple thou.
Yeah.
Yeah, when you buy,
If you have collet blocks, is that hardened steel? I mean, can you recut them to make them square if you have a square one or hex?
Mine seem to be hardened, but I do have a surface grinder.
I don't have collet blocks. I don't have a surface grinder, but I'm interested in, maybe one day I will need one to cut hexes on my little shaper. It would be really easy to have a collet block.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to use these collet blocks 2 times a day, 2 times a week, but maybe once a year, and that's it. So I don't want to spend a fortune on it. So my question is, if you have cheap shit things, is it possible to make them better, or is it just cheap shit? And I don't know.
Yeah,
send them to Randy Richard.
that makes them expensive then.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. Especially Richard. Yeah.
I think you can. I mean, it's not that hard to fix them, but you could fix them. Yeah, but collet blocks, there's that cumulative error problem with them. Is that if the block is one thing, the outside, if the hole isn't.
Yeah, but that's what I mean.
Isn't centered, and then the collet itself, you can have a lot of cumulative error with them, and it's a lot of times just take the work out and put it back in again in a different location. You can, if you need to do something real precise,
it shouldn't be too complicated to measure. You turn a little shaft in your lathe and put your collet block the other side, and then you can measure the square or the hex and make markings. Here I have to take off, I don't know how much, and here a bit more, a bit less. You can mark it, how much you have to take off. Cut off what you think is right, and you can re-measure. But I don't know if you can cut the steel of a collet block.
No, you're gonna have most of. I don't know any of them. I don't know.
Whoa.
Well, I don't know any that are soft. All of them I think are hard, but like I said, if you have to do precision work, I don't know if I would choose a collet block. But if it's going to be within a thousandth or two, that's not a big deal. Collet blocks, or if you have to do a lot of parts that have to be all the same, collet block might not be the best choice unless you have really good ones.
Yeah.
I don't know. I never worked with collet blocks. I know how it works, but I never used them myself. So
I use a 6-sided one a lot. I even use it in my lathe because my big chuck on my big lathe can't hold anything smaller than 5/8. So I'll throw it in a collet, but it's usually only one part. I'm not, but it's kind of nice there in that I could take it right from the lathe and put it in the mill and put a flat on it or something. So if I was doing a bunch of parts, that would not be my first choice. Let me put it that way.
Right.
Plus, you've got to invest in a pretty good collection of collets as well.
You got to have a set of collets. I mean, I have one of those really small sets of 5C collets. That's all I have. I don't have this vast collection like Stan. Stan has them all.
Almost.
Which is nice. I mean, that's not a bad thing. There's a lot of times I wish I had some of those in between ones, But what I do is I always have 1 or 2 emergency collets in the drawer. That if I need one, I just take emergency one out. I make it to what I need, and no big deal. Because emergency ones are fairly cheap, and you just keep 1 or 2 in those in a drawer,
Yeah. I don't know if anybody watches Dee Dee's channel. He was showing, he's got a more jig bore, and he was showing, he built a like an adjust-a-true chuck, collet chuck, where you could actually dial it in, like a 4-jaw chuck, but it was a collet chuck. I thought that was pretty interesting.
Wow. I've never seen one like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
It'd take a bit of work to make one like
himself.
that. Yeah. Oh, did he build the whole thing or just take one and modify the mount and stuff?
Oh, he does some amazing stuff. He built the whole thing.
He built the whole thing.
Yeah.
That's nice.
That's cool. What's his channel?
It's Dee Dee.
Oh, okay. Oh, I think
I don't know.
I think I've seen it before.
No, I haven't seen it.
Okay. Maybe one of those suggestion things.
Definitely worth checking out.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's the guy with the 10 double E.
I think he has. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. He's got quite a shop.
I've watched. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, for what I do, I just use the Spindexer for most of my rotary indexing. I've rigged it up so that if I put a collet chuck in the lathe, because I don't have a big milling machine, I use either the shaper or my lathe. So I'll put a collet chuck in the spindle on the lathe, and then I can set up the Spindexer on the top slide. Sorry, cross slide. So I've made a packing piece. Yeah, exactly, just like Ray's showing there. And I build it up so the center line of the Spindexer is on the center line of the lathe spindle. And then using the top slide, cross slide, whatever, I can move things around and mill a hexagon or whatever on the lathe. So I don't do any fine work. I don't have any fine indexing machinery. I use the Spindexer to index the backplate on my tailstock forge or chuck. And I also use the Spindexer for this thing. Oh, if I can show you, which I made, which is, forget that swath, which is basically an indexing base for an L00 chuck or faceplate or whatever. So it's not super accurate, but hi Harold. It's not super. It's not super. Thank you. It's not super accurate, but there's 24 holes round the top and 10 round the bottom. So that can give me, most of the indexing I need. So I just pull this out and then I can rotate it. I probably can't. No, it's there. I can do it. Look. And then I can drop. What it means is that I can be working on the lathe on any of the faceplates or chucks. If I want to do some index drilling on the work, I can take it off the lathe, drop it on here, drop it on the drill press, pillar drill. And that's about all I need, really. But I found it really useful. I made this. I didn't make this nut, but and I didn't make this, but I made the rest.
That's a great
there
idea.
you are.
Very nice.
It kind of works. It chatters a bit. Really, I should have made a clamp in it, and I never made a clamp. So if I'm doing something that's small drilling, it's fine, just like this. But if it's a larger drill, then probably I might have to take this out and put something fixed in rather than this spring-loaded thing, and then I can clamp it nice and tight. But anyway, that's something I made for indexing.
Looks like a really neat piece of work.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, that's nice.
The problem
I learned a lot.
I have, of course, if I want to do some indexing on my little shaper, the table is about this large, so I can't put an indexing head or whatever big thing on, otherwise my little machine will tip over, I suppose. So I have to think of a system. Think small for small head is a bit complicated.
Well, I've seen Mr. Pete. He used a saw blade for indexing one time, or maybe a couple of times. So,
Yeah.
Oh, right.
Now, what I do, for example, when I did the gear cutting, is print out a circle, graduated circle glue it on a piece of sheet metal,
Right.
and then cut the circle out, so I have something to hold on, and that sort of works. The problem is when you print things out, the print itself moves a bit. I once printed a nice large circle, and when you drew a line between the center and one of the points, you saw that it was a little bit out of. So for precision, it's not a good idea, but for normally what I do, it works sort of. So
I have to say that a lot of times what I do works sort of.
Yeah.
It's a good start. It's a good base, and then it gives you maybe ideas to make something better. But you have to start somewhere with nothing. That's of course the idea of my YouTube channel. Do something with the less possible tooling, but.
I've got one of those little spindexers, and I need to put it on the mill and clean up some of the edges on it to make it more useful, so you can clamp it in the vise or throw it on the surface grinder and have a nice edge.
Yes.
Yeah, that was the first thing I did to mine. Was,
Yeah, I've yet to do that.
Mill the edges true. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I see it.
And using a spindexer or a collet block, I think in a shaper, Michael, if you have this work piece, sticking out there, I can just imagine that the forces cutting back and forth. In case you'd have to take really light cuts.
It's the same as in a milling machine.
Yeah. Well,
it's about the same.
Oh, okay. I mean it's that interrupted cut, bang, bang, bang. Back. I don't know how well that.
If you have a 4-flute end mill, and you have a small workpiece, you have maybe 1 or 2 flutes cutting at the same time. So you always gonna have this little bit of vibration. Yeah. On the shaper is the same. If you jump in it at full speed from a far away distance, it's gonna give this knocking every time. But you can put the stroke that it starts almost at the beginning at your workpiece, and in theory, the cutting speed at that spot is somewhere between 0 and almost 0. Because the highest cutting speed is in the middle of the stroke, and the beginning and the end is 0, of course. So you can play with it. For the moment, I'm working on my little model shaper, and I'm working on the clapper box, which is about as big as my pinky nail. And if the cutting tool jumps in at full speed, it's gonna be pushed out of the vise because it will bend. It's too small to really hold. So I start the cutting stroke completely at the beginning of the workpiece, where the cutting speed is almost 0. No problem at all. And I have a mirror finish on it, and it's gonna work. It's still not finished, but it starts to look good.
You'll never get
tiny part.
You'll never get.
Still
You
back.
never.
I switched it to the dead mouse on my head.
Oh,
Do I sound okay now?
You
Yeah,
can bring
that's
it down a little bit.
Little
I'm not
better.
speaking back anymore. I was
Squeak
using
up.
the mic on my laptop.
Yeah.
No, this is good. This is good.
Clear.
No problem. But we still haven't heard Emma.
Yeah, Emma hasn't said a word. I haven't seen you in forever. Hi, Emma.
I have, but you just haven't been listening.
Ah.
that's what my wife says to me.
I can't
I
hear
was
her.
a bit in awe of Stan's haircut, but he's put his hat on, so it's I can talk again now.
But okay, now we can hear you. There's a a delay,
I
but
just
we can
wondering-
hear you. So that's good. That's good. That's nice.
This is a pretty useful thing.
Right.
Oh, you 3D
Yeah,
printed it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's nice.
It's probably too big for most things I use it for, but it doesn't really matter what size it is. You just line it up with a square. And for a lot of work in the mill, that's good enough. It's got 6 sides in the front and 8 sides here, so you can get 45s, and 4 here.
Yeah.
So you just put it in your shaft beside the vise and line it up with a 1, 2, 3 block or a Z square. That's the answer. Is a Z square? Yeah.
Yeah, that's the rose index.
I made one of
what the
those
rose
out of
index.
aluminum and a 3D printed one. They're pretty handy.
Yeah.
I 3D printed mine for 4-inch pipe to go that big.
All right.
I don't know how much 4-inch pipe I'm going to be machining, but that's big.
All right. So, what about the difference between using like a indexing head versus a rotary table with index plates? What's the disadvantages?
Well, I actually fitted. I got an 8-inch super spacer, which has the masking plates in the back that you can change, and you can do portions of a degree. You know, if you have to split degrees, you can do that. But if you want to use it as an actual dividing head, if you need to divide up 360 degrees, by one of the viewers said 7. You know, if you take 360 degrees and divide it by 7, it's 51 and change. You know, and it's really nice to have the indexing plates, the actual plates, so you can divide up your 360 degrees equally. And I fitted my super spacer with Shars, makes a 8-inch kit that bolts right to the side of it, and it's got the divider and the spanner and all the stuff to put the wheels on any way you want, and you can divide up a full circle any way you choose, and you don't have to do math at every interval. You know, if you were 51 and change, your first move is from 0 to 51 and change. Your next move, you have to add 51 and change and 51 and change together to get to the next move. And then the next move, you have to add it again and again. You can do it, but it takes forever. It's so much easier when you've got the dividers and the masking plates and the actual wheels set up on your super spacer.
I've got
when you're doing even numbers, you know, if you say, hey, I want 36 spaces, those are 10 degrees apart. That's a walk in the park, you know?
Yeah.
Right.
So whenever you have to start splitting up, odd numbered stuff and start doing, strange cuts like that, you definitely need some way to divide up full circle.
I've got that 10-inch rotary table in it. I've got index plates for it too. I've never used the index plates.
Right. If you've got the masking plates and all the tools to go on it to divide up your your super spacer is going to act the same as an indexing head. Yeah, or a dividing head. It's going to act the same way as soon as you get the plates on there.
Just much quicker, the super spacer.
Right. Well, the super spacer is not quick. If you're just doing a bunch of even numbers,
right, it's quick.
You don't even need a spacer or a dividing head. You can use a Spindex. If my work is light, I'm doing plastic or something little, maybe a little bit of aluminum or something. Spindex comes out. If I got heavy cuts to make, the spacer comes out. And you guys were talking about 5C collets earlier, and collet blocks. Where's the camera? These are the cheap Asian ones that everyone gets, and these things are more like a do-it-yourself kit. When you put the collets in, and you put maybe a gauge pin in there, hanging out of there, they're not going to be. First of all, they're not going to be parallel, and then they're not going to be equally spaced between center and top, center and top,
Right. Yeah.
center and top. You have to go to each one and dust off each one after you get them. After you get it squared up, where the actual collet center line is parallel with the flats. They need some work, and you pay for that precision. If you buy a really nice set of collet blocks, they're expensive. But actually, there's nothing wrong with the Asian ones as long as you don't mind doing a little work. And like I say, they're like a do-it-yourself kit. They're hard as nails. I mean, all the Asian stuff comes in. Their hardening is wonderful. It's just their finish tolerances aren't good. But and they're cheap enough. It's just you got to finish them. That's all.
I think you'll find though is you put in a half-inch collet, and if you modify the block to work really good with a half-inch collet, you throw in a 3/4 collet, and next thing you know, it's not right anymore. And
well, that's your collet's fault, not the block's fault.
Well, I agree, but you gotta be careful of what modifying the block at the time. I think myself, I would say it's better make the block a hexagon and then make the hole right, and then it's going to be the collet issues.
Well, when I did
That's
my
nice. That answers for 99% my question from the beginning of the live. So, thank you. That's good.
This brings up something that I was discussing before with somebody. In the first 30 seconds of my videos, I have my email address right there at the bottom of the screen. And that's because I want my viewers to be able to communicate with me if they want to. A lot of people don't even have an email address back in the about section of their videos. It's like they want to be anonymous forever.
No.
I don't understand that.
Well, if you're on YouTube, your life's an open book.
They can reply though to your video, and it comes on your email. Same thing.
Yeah, if you check your comments or every one of my video has my email address in the description. So
yeah, mine's in the about section, and that works.
Yeah.
People email me.
Yeah.
I think, as Sarah said, I think you probably need to be on a computer to see it. I can't see it very easily on a mobile. I think.
You can't see it on the mobile. You have to use a computer to get it.
Okay.
There's another point for the old man box.
I try not to install mine digitally. I have it on my opening screen, but it's not in a digital format that could be highlighted and right-clicked, because there's bots out there that are harvesting emails off of like your on your about section or whatever.
They have to tick a box that says I'm not a robot, but maybe robots can tick boxes saying I'm not a robot.
I suppose.
If they're going through and going to your channel and going to the about section of you, and your email's there, they could harvest that pretty easily.
Yeah, I mean, I use a different email address. It's not my personal email address. I use my channel email address, but I don't get much junk. In fact, I don't get, well, that's probably because my channel's not famous like yours, but I don't get many emails actually. Only people who are, trying to write something sensible.
Right. And that's the trouble. You get a bunch of spam mixed in with legitimate emails, and you hate to, you go through them in the morning and, you got 30 or 40 overnight, and you don't know what's good and what's bad. So you have to go through every single one of them and kind of weed them out.
Yeah, I mean, I put him on when I do when I'm looking for stickers. I don't know whether you guys do the sticker thing, but I put my email up actually on the video when I'm sort of touting stickers.
And that's non-digital. They can't harvest.
Yeah, non-digital. That's right. Yeah. But I saw somebody say, "Hey, who watches YouTube on a PC?" But actually, I watch most of mine on the TV, so I'm in the bottom 15% because only 15% of people watch YouTube on a TV. And then second would be PC, and then just occasionally I watch it on the mobile. But the mobile irritates the hell out of me because I can't do the stuff on it that I want to do, and it takes me forever to find the right buttons. As a creator, right? I can't, if I want to publish a video now or schedule it or whatever, I get sick of faffing about with the mobile. So,
Yeah.
so that's why I don't use the mobile.
Is a pain. I think it's even a pain only just if you want to watch YouTube videos with all the commercials you have on it.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, because when I'm watching it on the TV, I just mute it immediately when the commercial comes on.
The projects look better on the TV anyway. They were great big.
I think
You
so.
see all the details.
The finish is better.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the thing is, I guess the thing is, Harold, right? If you're a night watchman, in some factory and you've got nothing else to do, you're not going to bring a TV with you. You're going to watch it on the mobile, aren't you? That's the thing. That people, not everybody's sitting in a lounge like us drinking coffee and all that stuff.
Ray just Ray climbs a pole and watches it on his phone.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
He gets up there 50, 60 feet. No one can see what he's
They got
doing.
real work to do, Harold. It's all right for us, We just sit there in it with our mega TV picture.
I just put a new stereo in my truck, and they asked me if I wanted to install the YouTube app in my truck, and I said no. What kind of distraction is that? Driving down the road watching YouTube.
Yeah, it's a good way to
does that
die.
sound dangerous to you at all?
No.
Well, some of them are podcasts.
What a stupid idea.
I'll do a podcast. I'll listen to a podcast. I'm not going to watch videos going down the road. That is just pure dangerous.
The scary part is how many other people are probably doing it.
Yeah.
Just being on the road's dangerous.
Yeah, watching your videos.
These days, I've noticed it's getting to be real popular for the guy over to your left to whip right across in front of you and maybe another lane to hit the exit. I mean, they just miss you by inches.
Yes.
Who thinks that's a good idea?
That
I have a
Absolutely
hard time
not.
just driving.
I stay home for the moment, so no problem.
Well, I have to drive to places, like Sam's Club is 10 miles away. Casa Lay's 3 miles. I'm not going to walk that far. I'm too lazy. Probably too old, too.
Or both.
Or both, yeah.
Yeah, Harold, in your email, all you said was indexing in your email. You didn't state whether it was rotary indexing or part indexing or tool indexing, what kind of indexing we were talking about.
I was talking about all indexing.
All indexing? Are we going to dive in deeper into 5C?
As far as you want to go. As long as you don't think you'll drown.
You got standard 5C collets and you've got dead link 5C collets. How many of you guys have used dead link?
I never heard of them.
I don't use 5C collets.
I just so happen to have one here I can show you. And it's the same one I've shown before. It's an it's a pneumatic collet closer. 5C. Oh, wow. And the thing, the difference between a dead link collet and a standard 5C collet is not the actual collet, it's the closer. Now on this one, instead of pulling the collet into the socket by the back and pulling it in, so the collet's always on the move, in this, the collet stays fixed. You put it in, you screw it in, and the way the collet tightens is this nose pulls out.
Okay.
So what happens is if you're using a backstop on a collet and you're putting parts in the collet that hit that backstop is retracting. With a standard 5C, every time you pull that drawbar or draw tube, it retracts. And the smaller your parts are, if your parts vary in diameter, it pulls them back farther on the small parts and doesn't pull them back as far on the larger parts. So you're always going to get a different depth depending on the diameter of your parts. Dead link doesn't care because you're bringing the nose out and your backstop is staying fixed.
Right.
Joe Pice talked about that before on one or two of his videos. Went into actually
you're
went
doing
so
a
far as
run
to
of
demonstrate
parts
it.
and your parts vary in size, and you're using a hard rear stop. They'll pull in farther with a small part than they would with a larger part. They're not going to pull back as far because they're going to clamp down and everything's going to tighten up.
Right. Yeah.
So if your parts are varying, your bigger parts would be shorter and your smaller parts would be longer. If if you're not just straight
Yes.
across the board. But a
So-
dead length, you'll be dead on your length of all your parts.
Yeah.
So
Quite subtle.
I've never heard of them called it a dead link collet, but this is a hardage. Well, this is a hardage collet, but this is a Type 21,
Mhm.
and this collet goes in my my DSM 50, my hardage lathe, and there's a nut, that retains this. This snaps into the nut, and is always fixed at the same location. And then the collet closer actually slides over and pushes up and closes the collet. So the collet always stays in the same location.
All right.
It's the same kind of thing.
Right. It's very repeatable.
So it's exact. It's zero every time. It's perfect. And now this one here, I have a stop in because of what I was doing, but for the length. But yeah, this collet does the same thing that the dead link, like yours is doing there, Stan.
We were talking about
These are excellent.
we were talking
How
about
about
collet
the,
blocks. There are some ER32 or ER40 collet blocks out there that provide you with that same advantage because you're using the nut to secure the collet
All right.
and not sucking the collet into the block. So those are probably a little more repeatable in length than
Yeah, the nice thing about
5C.
the nice thing about this is the collet is not captured, or I should say solidly retained by anything. It just slips in. You just slip it into the holder, and then the nut, this fits through the nut,
Right.
and that's it. But it's not like it's retained by any fixturing device or anything like that where it's holding it. It's just floating in there, which is kind of nice. It makes it easy to change a collet pretty quick.
Yeah. I don't use 5C collets. The range is a bit, I know that they're quite accurate, but the range is a bit smaller than ER32, which is what I normally use. So they cover a whole millimeter. And for the stuff I'm doing, it's good enough.
ER32, where do they go up to? Like
20 mil. 20 mil.
Oh, 20 mil. Oh.
Yeah, 20 mil rod. Yeah.
I think 5C, I think passes through, I think 7/8.
Right. Okay.
I think it's for the pass through, but you can get a collet up to what, 1 1/16 on a 5C.
I think so.
But it only goes in about 1.5 inches or so.
Yeah. I think they're probably a better and more precision solution than ER32, but for what I'm doing, it tends to be what I use. I mean, on the Spindexer, my Spindexer is a 5C Spindexer, but I have a converter from 5C to ER32, which I use in the Spindexer.
Well, I think the ER system also is more tolerable of sizes. You use a 1/2 inch or 12 millimeter ER32 collet. You went 15, 20 thousandths, it still holds fine. Where that's not going to work at a 5C.
Yeah.
You have a much smaller tolerance. 3-4 thousandths. You're pushing it at 5.
You're right.
For it to hold well or properly, either way.
Yes. Okay.
When you use collets, I suppose the outside, the surface of the part must be super clean before you can put it in, because normally I always start from a piece of junk to make something out. So I suppose putting a piece of rebar in a collet that's not gonna do it.
That's not gonna work.
No, some rusty, almost round thing, or black bar, for example. If you have a piece of black bar with this scale on, put it in a chuck, turn it on, no problem. But in a collet that doesn't work.
Now I use for emergency collets, Randy. I don't know whether you do it or not, but I use the brass ones.
Yeah.
I get the brass collets.
Yeah.
Because if you think about it, you can solder on these and build them up and do different things and remachine.
Right.
You can remachine the solder. I solder these things all the time, and I use them for. That's a little part that I make, and see, I've got 2 dowel pins in there, holding that little piece of plastic. That plastic's got a sleeve that goes down, and I have to drill one hole, spin it 180 degrees, and do that other hole, and that's the fastest way to do that job. That's a reoccurring job. Those 2 little roll pins in there index the part.
Yeah, perfect.
That's just a real quick job that I do. I don't know if I can get that part out of there or not. But it's got a sleeve that goes clear down into the collet down to here.
Right.
And that center portion's threaded too. But that job comes up every once in a while. And then just, there's nothing wrong with soldering on your collets. If they're too big or you need something on them, you just solder on them and then machine the solder down. Most of my stuff's plastic or aluminum anyways of this little stuff. But I'm a fan of the 5C because they can go from the lathe to the mill, and I got a lot of different tooling for 5C. You got the Spindex, you got the collet blocks. I got a dead length setup, a Pratt Bernard that can go in the lathe, and you actually dial that in. I put the Pratt Bernard, it's just a round chunk, and you just chuck it up in a 4-jaw, dial it in, and then it's a dead length collet setup. It just uses the key to open and close the collet.
Right.
Doing a lot of repeatable precision work. That's the way I do that. If it's non-precision, I use a standard type 5C with just the JFK closer, where I can change parts without even turning the machine off.
Oh yeah.
I've not gotten brave to do that yet.
It's nice. It's nice to be able to do that. You just watch your hands. Make sure you deburr all your parts where you stick your hands in there and that thing comes around and cuts you. I got a plastic job that reoccurs that we don't turn the machine off at all. It runs all day when we're doing that one.
I don't know.
I've got a collet closer and I absolutely love using it, but I'm nowhere near confident yet. I need to dial in the little back spline just a little bit more to get the run out of it on the back end side so it doesn't rattle.
I don't think they even make a collet closure for my lathe.
This is another interesting piece. This is a piece of extruded aluminum that you can cut. You buy these in 5-foot lengths and you cut them down. What they do is they fit in your collet, and you cut them down and use that as a backstop. And they'll fit in any collet, and you can use them. Like this collet doesn't have any internal threads, so I got no way to get a stop in there. No internal threads on that one. That dude will go in just like that, and you cut it off short and make your own backstop for your collets out of that.
Is that specifically made for collets, or is it just something you found that would work?
No, it's made for collets.
Cool. I've never seen that.
Collets. You buy these in 5-foot lengths, so they're about $15 for 5 feet of this stuff. And when you use them, you only use little pieces, like little 2 or 3 inch pieces. But they don't go all the way to the collet. They go down and they got a hard stop in the bottom. They hit, so you cut them off wherever you want your part to stop inside.
Yeah.
And then you pull them out a little bit and let them stick out of the collet, and you face the whole thing off so it's nice and square, and shove it back in and go to work.
Any particular supplier for those, Stan?
I don't remember where I got these. Me and Andrew Padaka, there was a minimum buy and we split it. And this is all I got left out of my 5 feet.
Next time you make a buy, let us know and we'll chip in.
You don't save them and catalog them? Have a whole catalog of different sizes?
Well, Andrew found them. I don't know where he found them, and I just threw money at him, and he came over with them. So that's the perfect deal for me right there. That's my favorite. That's my favorite kind of deal. Bless you, Emma.
Yeah, bless you.
It's almost 7 a.m.
Almost 7.
Almost 7 a.m. Right.
Wow.
On Monday morning.
Yes, on Monday morning.
Paul, are you in the UK?
Yes.
I'm going to throw all my collets away.
Yeah.
Yes, I am. Yeah. Yeah. So here it's about 10 minutes to 10 on Sunday night, just to be clear. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. I never thought about putting an odd shape in the collet, but obviously it works out great.
Yeah.
Got a hold pretty good.
Some of these collets have threads in the back for to put a stop in, I should say. And that's, but a lot of these don't. So I just make a piece that's a light press fit, and I just press it in. You know, I can always press it back out. So that seems to work. So, so talking about indexing, one other thing I want to mention is one thing I use is on repeating parts in the mill. I use collet holders, and so I don't hold a collet. I mean, I don't hold an end mill in a collet. I'm using a collet holder, so it just goes in. Not a collet holder, an end mill holder. So it just goes up in the spindle, and I can take it in and out, and it's always going to be at the same spot. So if I'm making a bunch of the same part, I have that reference of the stick out of the mill and mill point. That's just another way of indexing something.
Which tool holding system are you using, Randy?
Yeah, it looks like Chuck found those aluminum extrusions.
Yeah.
Oh, he found them. Yeah. Oh, where'd you find those?
Where were those, Chuck?
That
McMaster?
Ajax.
Ajax?
What do they call it?
It does not sound familiar.
I just put in. Well, they call it a front-loading collet stop.
Okay.
All right.
Mighty Bite.
Okay.
$39. $39 for 24 inches.
Yeah, they're pretty proud. They're pretty proud of that stuff.
Yeah, really.
I wonder if you can 3D print it.
Why not?
Well, if anyone can do it, you can, Chuck.
Yeah.
3D printing
They're pretty thin.
perfect.
I don't know. That's pretty thin stuff. I'd hate to get one of those stuck down in one of my collets.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's a perfect project for 3D printing. Really, you might have to adjust the length of it, but that'd be.
I think it's a good idea.
Yeah.
Go for it. If it doesn't work, it doesn't. But if you don't try, it will never work. So I can try. I don't have a 3D printer and I don't have collets, but I think it's a good idea to give it a go. So
Next
Chuck,
thing we know, Chuck,
you try and then you let us know, yeah. And if you mess up collets, you let us know too.
All right.
Yeah. Thank you.
Randy can draw it. I'll print it.
Yeah, I can draw it.
Randy, so which
The thing about those is
system are you using?
If
I
you
use
actually
R8
throw into that one of those pieces of aluminum, it's no harm, no foul. They're kind of disposable.
Yeah. R8, Billy.
Oh,
That's that in my mill. Yeah.
I got this Windows PC. The most annoying thing is this little box down in the right-hand corner that pops up if I let my cursor drift over there. It's irritating.
I hope you're on Windows 11 by now.
Not yet.
don't.
I don't.
Oh well.
I just turned that off on mine, Harold. I had to have my IT guy help me, but there's a way to turn it off, and I agree with you. It's really annoying.
Yeah, it's like my iPhone.
You can turn it off.
Do what?
If you right click on the little speech bubble notification thing, and open the action center, you can turn it off.
Yep.
Well, I'll work on that when we're not online. Of course, it only bothers me.
It'll disappear.
Do you boost her at all?
No, she just has to boost
down.
herself.
Channel, and that goes beep 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 all the time. I won't say it's a pain, but it's busy.
It's just like my iPhone. It'll do. There's things it'll do that I don't even know it'll do. You know, I'm not an Apple person, so I don't know about all that stuff. But they're
so that's a 3D print copy of Joe Pye's little index plate.
Yeah.
Put it on his channel. and how he uses it with the pins. So
Yeah.
I just did the math and 3D printed it. Haven't used it. It's in the box.
Well,
But it
that
was-
ain't fair to rednecks. That's not fair to rednecks. We can't count that high.
Do anyone hear me?
Oh,
You're out.
We can hear
Yes.
you, Emma.
Yeah, we hear you.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, okay.
Yell.
Hey, and you're synced up now too,
Oh, good.
yep.
or better.
Oh,
even.
yeah.
I had to
Yeah.
close it
Yeah.
and log
Yeah.
back in.
Much better.
Oh, that's better then. I'll talk then.
This is my ER32 collet holder for the lathe. So I just put the spindle sleeve on there, and the outside of the spindle sleeve is because it's an L00. The outside of the spindle sleeve is a 4.5 Morse taper, and that's a 3 Morse taper, and there's just a drawbar. Whoops, and then I just put the collets in there. Somebody commented earlier about making one for ER40. I think that's what I do for ER32 anyway. I just thought I'd
Right.
say.
Now, do you use backstops on the ER collets? Do they have a provision for backstops?
They don't, and I don't, and I've never needed to because I don't do repeat work generally. I'm not in production, so I haven't had to. I mean, this one actually is blind anyway, so that's an advantage of 5Cs is that not blind. But
Well, no. If you have
In
a
this-
threaded hole in the back of it, you could put in a threaded rod that you could screw in and out and use it as a backstop.
I could, but on this takes a long drawbar. You see, there's a
Oh, you
drawbar.
got to use the drawbar.
It's a 12 mil, 12
Yeah.
mil, and it's a big long drawbar, and it runs right through the spindle. So it's blind.
Right.
So that's a disadvantage.
Well, you
I could get
be
round it. I could
creative
find
with
a
the
way.
drawbar, even if you threaded a hole in the center of the drawbar.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, but you can only make short pieces.
I'll show you. Hang on.
If it goes right
Let's see.
through,
Right.
you could.
I see the extension is like 3 feet long.
There
and,
is the drawbar.
Yeah. yeah.
So
Piece of it.
you guys say scooters, or do you say razors, or like 2 wheels?
Razor, yes, yeah.
Razor, right?
Yeah,
Well,
razor,
okay,
yeah.
so everything in my place is homemade. So this is a razor wheel at one end, and then part of a bicycle crank here, which just goes into the whole dimension on my spindle. And then this is a bit of curtain pole here, like with a 12 millimeter threaded bar through the middle and a piece of rubber here that keeps it in the middle, so that when it goes through my spindle, because it's only about an inch and 3/8 or something, I forget now, and then that goes on there, and it pulls it through. So that's the setup. So drilling a small hole all the way through that, no,
No,
I don't think so.
Yeah, not all the way, just the depth you need, that's
Very
all.
short screw.
Yeah, I could do, but I haven't. My work isn't that serious. I haven't had to do it, but that's the story. Hey, that's the story.
I'd like to see the drill bit for that.
Yeah.
Those razor wheels are pretty handy. They're surprisingly tough.
Yeah, you're right,
used
you're
them
right,
on my
but-
table saw for I
Oh,
replaced
did
the
you?
regular casters.
Well, my
nice,
son.
nice grip in the hand. They're-
Yeah.
they're
But my son always used to end up breaking at the same place. So there was a big flat on the wheel. So the first thing I had to do was to put the razor wheel in the lathe and machine it all round.
Just don't tell him that. He might want it back.
Well, he's grown up now. He
Okay.
won't notice. Yeah, he's not like 7. I haven't stolen his razor. He's now nearly 30. So
I was at the scrapyard, and there was a guy with the pickup truck. He must have had 300 of those things in the back of the pickup truck, taking them in for scrap.
yeah, they're really useful. Yeah, useful stuff.
Did you go there, Dean?
No, this is years ago.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but yeah.
Indexing.
Nice to see you, Everett.
Yeah.
Yeah, Everett's right. We're 1 minute from the end of the broadcast or live stream or whatever you're going to call it.
What are we going to fill it with then?
Oh, I don't know. One of you guys.
It's going to be a hard one.
Shapers.
Tell you what, guys, just make sure you all go out and subscribe to all the creators here on the panel.
Yeah, right below the video, there's
Totally.
a link to everybody's channel except mine.
I already did that. So now what? I don't know.
Go by and give them a thumbs up.
Thumbs up button.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
That'll be
folks.
good.
Thanks for showing up to watch the ARW discussion. That's our hour, and we're through. And you guys that are, participants here, you know that you can stay and shoot the bull afterwards if you're of a mind to. All right. So that's the end of the broadcast.